uncomfortable moment 533, waiting for the viewers to come on. Oh dear, I really need to find out what to do in this gap. I keep thinking, maybe you could send in song requests and I could sing while I'm waiting, or I don't know, come up with some ideas so I don't feel so awkward waiting. It's great on Instagram, it's like bang, and you're there. It's so good. But here you're sort of like waiting. Did they get the bell? Did they not get the bell? I know what I'm doing while I'm waiting. Oh, that's better. Sitting up like an adult now. Oh dear. I probably could go and bake a cake or something. Um, I've got some time today. Hey, Scott, you're first up. I was just sitting here thinking, what am I going to do? I've got a couple of hours off and I felt like I wanted to do some reading. So I'm going to think about how to do a couple of extra things this afternoon. Yahoo! Yeah, exactly. How you been? We've got, Bathurst was awesome. I did 13 readings and it was a fabulous day. All beautiful people. There was just nothing to complain about. It was amazing. So, yeah. And what I love is some of those people appeared on my Facebook page now, which is always great validation for me when people come and follow me. That's very exciting. So how's life treating you? Are you still soccering or are you joining us for the G's gang this week? Old man problems. Stop with the old. Enough of the old. Enough of the old. Just man problems will do, but then that's being sexist. So just problems. Just problems. Oh dear, soccer's finished now. Oh great. I think that a couple of other people were doing the same thing, so we might have a good turnout for the G's gang this weekend. I'm only there for a little while though because I booked Facebook card pools at the same time. So what I'm going to do is do the G's gang the following Saturday and move it on to the other weekend. So because a couple of people can't join us on the weekends it's on, so we're going to go fortnightly, but we're going to go another week and then go fortnightly. How are you, Caitlin? Long time no chat. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. It's such an awesome journey. I love it. I really do. Such an awesome journey. So, yeah, what's up for today? Caitlin, how's everything going with you? Now, what you said to me, and I do have a $ show your support. Yes, so people can pay me. Hey, TS, how you going? And the S is down the bottom. Yeah, so I can click on it. Super chat. Oh, like that. Buy and send. Send a super chat. Hey, Rebecca, how you going? Rebecca. Janet, how you going, Janet? Lovely to see you on board too. Well, there you go. That's interesting. So what happens if you press buy and send? Where do I pay? And follow the prompts. Very interesting. I don't know if you can still hear me now. Rightio. So you pay straight off your credit card. Right. Okay. Interesting. Now I see how it's happening. Oh, goodness, there's heaps of people come on while I haven't been here. Okay, now I understand. How, Nicole, how are you going? Yeah, I agree with you, Reb. I had the most strange day yesterday. So because I've got a little bit more time, I'm between a bit at the moment. So Spirit's given me a nice quiet week after doing readings on Sunday. And I thought I'd do some extra readings. And of course I got on, I thought I'm going to do a pick a card reading and see what's going on, for us single girls. And I did the first two. And the the thing just bugged out on me, and I thought, I wish I had the capacity to just splice the video together, and I don't know how to do that, or whether you can even do it without an editing program on your iPad. And then I did it again, and then it went again. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So I couldn't get through the third reading, which is really strange because it was the pile I picked. So when I'm doing the pick a card readings, I pick a pile, and I don't know what's in them. I know some readers turn them over and read them beforehand so they can give a more intense reading, but I don't. I just pick all the cards and then do the readings. So very heavy energy. Yes, very heavy energy. So it feels like I had a really tough Mercury retrograde. Normally I'm like, oh, what are you worried about? It's no problem whatsoever. And this time I've had a really, I've struggled through this Mercury retrograde, and I feel it could have to do with the fact I have a Scorpio rising, because it was a Scorpio retrograde, because I had all sorts of things happening. So I struggled. And then when it finished, I was like doing a little happy dance and going, yay, it's finished. And it just hasn't finished for me. So it's nothing horrible at all. But I think after finding a spider in my bed on Saturday night, I just went, oh, you know what? There's just really weird things happening around me at the moment. Something's happening here. So anyway. Good. Yeah, I knew you weren't staying on for long, Caitlin. It's always lovely that you come and join me, though. So what we've been talking about. Thank you. Lest we forget, I forgot about that too. 11:11. Yeah, I didn't stop for a moment, so I'll stop for a moment after I finished. Pay my respects. We were talking about having super chats, so you guys could pay a little bit for a reading, and I could do a reading for you for like a small return, and do some live readings on here. So, hey Sue, how you going? You were listening while you were driving this morning. I am absolutely blown out by the readings lately. I've got to say.
Hey Siri, I am absolutely.
Can you hear me?
About a web search for it.
Siri's talking to me. It's not even turned on. So I don't know what else is going on. But anyway, yeah, so yesterday with the picker cards, that was really indicative of what my life is like at the moment. And although it's not horrible and it's not getting me down or anything like that, it's just this sort of strange energy where everything is just sort of panning out different to what it would normally. So, oh, how you going, Busra? I hope I said your name right. Yeah, so I was looking at doing the super chats like the other people do on here. I'm very good, thank you. Is Busra the name too? Is that Busra or Bosra? Because you've got an umlaut, or whatever you call it, across your zeros. So I hope across your U's. So I hope I'm saying it right. 1 and 3 resonated, but 2 didn't. 2 didn't. That's really interesting. Somebody else said all 3. Jody. Jody's not on here, is she? I'll pull a card for you a little later, Busra. Yeah, somebody said all 3 reading resonated with something in their life at the moment. But when I do the picker cards, I pull all the cards out, I put them down on the table. I do not look at them beforehand. I put the crystals on them, and before I start, I pick one for myself. And the one I picked for myself was 3 yesterday. So I have no idea what's in pile number 3. It's pick a box, right? And it took me 3 attempts to get that done. But it wasn't just that one. This morning I was doing the reading, the doorbell rang in the middle. Sometimes my doorbell goes off like my phone does and there's nobody there. But I can't take a chance because I'm upstairs. I have to run all the way down the stairs and check out the front door. Buzzer, I'm not pulling cards at the moment. I'll pull a card a bit later for you, but at the moment I'm not pulling cards. All the time, Caitlin. I feel like it's a little crazy at the moment. There's sort of this energy of like energy around at the moment where it's just I don't even know how to explain it. I've got fairies or pixies with me at the moment. I'm not quite sure which, but it's like I'm having all these little gameplays with things. It's quite different. Um, and that's what I said. There's been this sort of energy of being played with. Yeah, somebody having fun with me. But I haven't quite sort of tuned in to see. I've been doing a lot of meditation, but I've been really focusing on meditation that I need to focus on personally at the moment. But yeah, it's like someone's playing games with me. So, and it's been like that for a few weeks, well, since Mercury retrograde started. But the electronics, like Siri on my phone, the phone doesn't really Siri very often, but the iPad Siris me all the time. So it'll just start talking. Um, oh, that's probably very true. Perhaps I'm just a bit too serious at the moment, a bit too busy. But I'm so enjoying the journey. I've just had so much fun, and it's really funny because I am such an introvert, and I've loved having the time at home to really sort of focus on my own stuff. Um, but over the weekend and being around all the psychics and everything, um, we we all went out for tea on Saturday night or dinner, and I just enjoyed being around really, really like-minded people. So it was just beautiful for a while to sort of get in amongst people. And I think that sometimes when we're forced not to do something, that rebel in me sort of gets a little agitated and goes, yep, I know I've been forced to stay home, but I don't want to stay home at the moment. I want to go out. So at the moment, I'm like, where am I? Where can I go? What can I do? Because I'm just a little freed up from work. And I'm like, I want to get out. I want to have fun. So I'm out there again. I'm back on the board. But yeah, it's been a bit of a strange energy. So I guess everybody else is feeling the same thing in terms of the Mercury retrograde. What experiences has everybody had here? It's an interesting concept, though, Caitlin, trying to show me the fun side of life because I really did get that. I really did get that. Yeah, you know what? I've got to tell you, we just had a ball. But as I said, hey, Maria, how you going? From Italy. um, I think that sometimes I get a little bit, it's been such a long time since I've done very much social because I moved down to Wollongong and the last few months before Christmas last year, because my daughter had been very sick, so we have sort of very limited. Then I moved to Wollongong in January, got this place 1st of February, and then that was pretty much it. We went into COVID. So I've had very, very little interaction with people. So even like going out on coffee for like with dates and things like that has been just so nice just to get out and talk to people and sort of have a little bit of fun. Yeah, exactly. And it's a shame sometimes all of you are so far away because it would be great just to sort of, and somebody, I think it might have been Lauren last time I was talking to her, was saying it would be great for us all to live close so we could just all pack up and meet for a barbecue or something because it is really cool about being around like-minded people. Very, very cool indeed. So, and the energy is different. But no, it was a great day in Bathurst, and I was sort of worried about the drive because really I was trying to think how long ago it was I'd done a long distance drive, and the last one I'd done was to Mildura in December, and of course I hit a kangaroo in the middle of the night. So I'd become a little bit, I've been traveling all these years and never ever worried, but became a little bit sort of nervous about traveling at night time. But I drove back at night and it was really good. I had no problem at all. So I have travelled, I think we drove to Canberra a couple of weeks ago, and that's the first drive I've had in a really long time. So anyway, how's Florence, Maria? Haven't spoken to you for a while. Are you keeping busy over there? Is work keeping you busy? So I'm going to do some new readings. I'm going to do some things this afternoon while I've got a bit of time. So, hey Tanya, how you going? Went for a jog and felt a lot of pollution in the air. Isn't that interesting? Oh, Maria said they're going down to the third going into third lockdown in Italy. That's what I keep saying to people here, because you're not the only country. Like, you're one of probably 5 countries now who've gone back into lockdown. Everybody's moved back to normal too quickly. I feel like sometimes we're very lucky in Australia, because even going to Bathurst the other day, I was really nervous about hugging people because I haven't been hugging. And of course, everybody's still hugging in Bathurst. And it was like a strange thing for me. Oh, you've got the flu. Oh, that's no good at all. Um, so it's sort of like really it's really interesting, because I know Britain's going into their lockdown again. France, apparently there was a big blockages on the road there when they talked about going into lockdown again. Everybody tried to flee the country. So nobody wants to go into lockdown, but they don't realize the dangers of fleeing the country is a problem too, because if you've got the bug or there's danger from the bug, you're going to move around everywhere. Not in Melbourne, ready to go. They're letting you go again. Hi, Ava. How you going? Yeah. Yes, Maria will know. Maria is Australian, so I guess she would know. Maria? Um, I'm very well, thanks, Ava. Nice to see you here. Yeah, so it's sort of been a bit of a strange thing that everybody's gone back into lockdown. I think there was India, France, England, and they've all experienced very extensive lockdowns already. And I think what people aren't realizing is it only takes one person with the virus to spread it. That's it, full stop. So whether or not we can get under control it'll be interesting. Yeah, see, there you go. And they had new cases in Western Australia too. I understand. Actually, funny enough, yes, there was no new cases in Victoria, but nearly every state had new cases, which really blew me away. So I don't know how it's getting around, because obviously people are doing the wrong thing. It wouldn't be spreading. Yeah, return travelers. So how, I mean, how are you going to stop it if that is the case? Um, yeah, that's right, Maria. You've got nobody to stay with over here. Hey, Tina, how you going? Yeah, they're in quarantine, but they've tested positive. Yes. I was talking to someone in the Northern Territory the other day, and um, they were saying that in the Northern Territory, when people fly in by plane, they actually have a quarantine centre outside of town, so nobody comes into town. That's why they haven't had to worry about it. It's been so well contained. Um, so, yeah, so I thought that was quite interesting. And actually, I mean, like Melbourne would be absolutely in the position to do that, because they would have places out near the airport. So you could really, if you were a little bit more sensible, you could control it a little bit more. But oh yeah, I said that with England, Maria, because one time they sent people to New Zealand and they didn't test them before they went. But my understanding is it can be in your system for obviously 2 weeks, and not show symptoms. So most people seem to show symptoms within the first 5 to 6 days, but it has been known to be outside of that. Um, yeah, that's it. I agree. Yeah, that's it. But I think the same thing. I think if you're COVID positive before getting on a plane, you're putting all the people in the plane at risk. So it's crazy. Hey, Jeanette, how you going? Lovely to see you on board. They're saying the new vaccine, one of the vaccines, so there's a few countries developing vaccines, but one of the vaccines they've developed has proved to be 95% successful. So I feel that it won't be far away now. I think they're really starting to get a handle on it, as it were. So I'm excited. I want to get back to traveling again, and I don't think I'd want to take the risk. Imagine getting sick in another country and being on lockdown for 2 weeks. That doesn't make it sound very good at all. All-time high in the US. All-time high. I don't know how you guys are going over there. It must be so confusing for you all at the moment. Yes, and funny enough, Italy was my place this year. I'd actually looked into traveling because obviously I'm on my own, and I'd looked into going in a group people for a month and going all over Italy. And it was just so super. It was quite expensive, but I'd actually thought about doing that at the end of this year because Italy's a place I've never been to and always wanted to go. And this tour went everywhere. It was superb, and I hadn't quite made up my mind when they'd done that. So it's in crazy. 100,000 new cases in the US. Wow. I will come to Florence when I come across Maria because I want to do a lot of Italy, but my if I was felt safe going by my own on my own over there, I'd do that because I feel like I want to just get in a car and just do bed and breakfasts. Hey Susan, how you going? Um, well, we've talked about having the Aussie Goddess caravan. We talked about that, having a caravan. So maybe we'll all get around to it soon. Hey, Karen, how you going? Um, but definitely would like to do Italy, but I would like to do it that way. Just get in a car, drive, stay where I land. That's my intention. Um, I can do it in Australia. I feel quite safe doing it by myself, but I don't know how I'd go overseas. But I'd love to do it. But wait until, yeah, vaccines become available, I think, and making sure. I mean, obviously the governments are making sure they're very safe. They wouldn't put them out there without doing that. So, but 100,000 new cases in the US. Wow, that's just getting away. How can you control it when it gets that out of control? That's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Yeah, it may be that you do, Jeanette, too, because as I said to someone, they said, oh, we're back to normal in Australia, and everybody's sort of getting irritated because they can't travel. And I'm like, everybody's so vulnerable with this. Everybody's so vulnerable. And it can happen at any time. Um, One person, remember? So you could have one case in Australia and still end up like everybody else is. I mean, it's a very, very contagious virus. Very contagious. So until we can completely eradicate it, like we did with smallpox, after losing 500 million people or 50 million people or whatever it was, which was mostly children, of course, we did eradicate it with immunisations. So I love that, Karen. I travel everywhere in Australia. I have no problem. I'll get in my car and go. I would be quite happy to do that too in a lot of other countries, but I figure my kids would probably get really upset with me if I did that. But sorry, somebody just wrote something on one of my videos, and I have a couple of people who write in other languages, and that one was in French, which was absolutely beautiful. So many people not wearing masks. Jeanette's in Georgia. Cumming, Georgia. Is that right? Um, but there are other people here. Yeah, I thought she was. There are other people on here from Florida too, though. Tina, there's a few people on here that come on it that are in there. Tina's in Connecticut. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, no. Oh, see, I don't know. I read something the other day that said something to the effect of why people don't believe this virus is real when there are hundreds and thousands of nursing staff dealing with it. My sister nursed a baby that died of COVID in England. They lost nurses in their 30s. This is a very, very dangerous disease. And not is it only dangerous when you catch it, the after effects are horrible. So I mean, it really does damage to your organs, but one of the after effects that a lot of people are experiencing is loss of taste and smell. It seems to be a really dominant after effect. But that's horrible, Caitlin. That's really sad. But there was a family in America. I don't know if it was one of the other people was saying to me not so long ago, a whole family went to dinner or had dinner at one of their houses and all of them got COVID and only two survived. The rest of the family were wiped out. So, oh wow. Yeah, lung problems. Yeah, I had a friend who had it, and she said the worst part for her was the thinking. Took her so long to get for her brain to get back to normal afterwards. So yeah, I mean, it's up to you. If you don't want to wear a mask and you want to take a chance, perhaps you'd be lucky enough not having too much wrong. But it doesn't really, for some unknown reason, people think because people die over a certain age, that it's not affecting everybody else the way it is. I've spoken to too many people now who've suffered really poorly. Um, yeah, where we are, Tina, where I am, there was an outbreak about three-quarters of an hour away of about 5 people last week. But I mean, as I said, it only takes one person. Three-quarters of an hour is not far away. So you can't really be 100% sure that it's not going to travel. But yes, a lot of people won't have great Christmases this year because their family is away. But on the other hand, look how lucky we are to have social media and YouTube and all those sort of things, because at least we can speak to each other. So when we were on lockdown the first time, I was using the iPad to Skype like the kids and everything to let them know everything was okay. And of course, they were checking in on me because I live by myself, obviously. So, everybody was sort of wanting to make sure I was safe. But, at the end of the day, we do have contact now. I mean, imagine this is when it happened, in the days of the plague and things like that, where you wouldn't have had contact with anybody. You wouldn't have known until much later if anything hadn't happened. Yeah, see? And I think that's cool. Like even the phones, like, how lucky we are to have phones to talk to each other. So at least we can keep in contact. I know a lot of people suffered really heavily with depression and things like that from being cut off from people. But at the end of the day, we mostly do have contact, and that's really important. But yeah, so I hope you all keep safe, and I hope your families and everybody around you safe as well. And hopefully, well, Maria, that's what I was saying because I went to Bathurst the other day, and of course, being Australian, you know where Bathurst is, and none of us have seen each other for a while, and I'm what I would call a reluctant hugger anyway with people, but these people I sort of hold close to me. So I was sort of like this. Do I, how do you hug? Virtual hug, virtual hug. So, but lots of people came straight in for the hug, which was absolutely beautiful. And I really loved it. But I know the people at Bathurst were very honest in saying that they were a bit spoiled there because they'd really had nothing there. But there was a few people who came to the fair that were from Sydney, and of course it is in Sydney, so it was sort of a bit sort of I don't know, a reluctant sort of hugging. Yeah, see, there you go. So Caitlin's still a bit unsure too. I felt the same, Caitlin. That's why I said I'm a bit of a reluctant. But sometimes people come bowling up to you and you're like, before you realise it, they're giving you a hug. And I love it. I think it's really nice, but it does make me nervous, very nervous. But especially for people that have other, like obviously over the age of 60, you're going to be a little bit more at risk anyway. But if you have other health problems, of course, you're in a much higher risk bracket. Hey, Queen of Water, how are you going? Yeah, university, I've got to say to you, it's not just university. It's changed our thinking on a lot of levels, really. Um, yeah, energy's pretty weird at the moment. Yeah, you're a hugger. We'll have lots of hugs later, TS. We'll have lots of hugs later, I promise. We'll make up for them all. But yeah, well, it's put a damper on dating, I've got to say. So for all of you people who've been dating during this time, like having a cup of coffee and sort of talking, 1.5 meters from the person you're having coffee with, sort of probably, a good thing considering a lot of people you meet, but still, that's about it for everybody. I'll see you, Tina. Catch up with you next time. Um, yes, I wonder how long it's going to be. I just hope that people are sensible this time around Victoria, because, yeah, I mean, you've got to look. So Italy, France, India, England, all gone back out into lockdown. So if people aren't sensible, there's going to be another lockdown. And then it's not fair on the people who have been doing the right thing. But you know what? At the end of the day, you can't be responsible for everybody. It's unfortunate. You know what? Some of the people in Australia, some of the people who are in positions of power, we've got a lot to be thankful for the way that we've been looked after here in Australia. I hear so many people griping and moaning about, wearing masks and having to stay inside. And I get it. I really do. I was in the first lockdown for several weeks, and absolutely terrified the first time around. Not so much for myself, but for everybody else. Like, it really frightened me what damage this could do. But if we'd have all stayed put and we'd have all done the right thing and the government hadn't have allowed anybody to come back in the country or kept them on lockdown like they should have been and made sure they stayed there, we could have eradicated it by now. So you have a look at New Zealand. I mean, Jacinda Ardern got copped a hiding for that. People gave her such a pizzling and she stopped it completely in New Zealand. There's been a few cases that have come up since, and that's all they've had to worry about. And, as much as we politically get pissed off with our governments for taking a hard stand, in the whole scheme of things, we may have lost people and that's really tough, but we could have lost a lot more. Yes, it's crazy, isn't it, Karen? It's really crazy. Um, yeah, I would wear a mask anyway. In fact, I just went out last week for the first time without a mask on because we haven't really had any cases here. And then when they said there'd been 5 cases at Moss Vale, which is sort of just a little bit up the mountain, I went, you know what? I'm going back to wear a mask again. I don't want to catch it. I don't want the darn thing at all. And I agree, Queen of Water. I think it's really sad because I think our governments have done extremely well. But I've heard people whinge about having to be in lockdown and businesses losing money and things like that. And I'm like, at the end of the day, you can have a business. You can have a business, but if you've got no people to buy it because people are dying off left, right, and centre or in hospital. When Victoria was in lockdown, there were 800 people in Victoria in hospital, 800. And out of that, there were 52 in intensive care. Now, my understanding is most hospitals have only, 8 to 10 beds in intensive care. So they must have been placing those people all over Victoria. How can our systems cope? How will our systems cope if this gets away? Because I don't think we could manage it. I agree with you, Caitlin. Oh, wow. What happened? Oh, the horses for the Melbourne Cup. That's every year, isn't it? We have to deal with that sort of stuff. I don't watch it. I don't bet anymore. I used to always be one of those people who bet on the Melbourne Cup. But even I've got conscious. We never heard in the beginning. For all the years I was watching the Melbourne Cup, I never knew so many horses end up dying at the end of that. I had no idea. Now, of course, because we have so much going on social media, it's very, very easy to hear about it. Oh, Joanne, that's all right. We've got a little bit of time still left. The bell didn't ring. How interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I just think at the end of the day, we've done so much better than a lot of other places. What can you say? I know some countries, very, very strict countries, have had, they've had as little disruption as possible. But I think we've done incredibly well here in Australia. Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's very hard, isn't it? And I sort of get it, Sue. That's what I was just saying before. I mean, there's still cases around. So if we aren't watching this, it'll get away again. Because this morning there was no new cases. I think the ACT and Victoria had no new cases, but every other state had new cases. So whether they're people traveling in and if they're in quarantine, that's great. But it still means we've got new cases around. So, um, yes, I know. Oh, that's so sad, Caitlin. Yeah. They can't be responsible for everybody, Queen of Water. You can only be responsible for that which you can control. I mean, we've been jumping up and down about the horse racing for a long time. But as I said, even I didn't realize how bad it was until a few years ago when something came out about the horses. I think there was a main racer that had to be put down, and then everything came to the forefront, a bit like greyhound racing. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of stuff we just don't know as the public. And if you're like me, I don't watch any television. I watch Netflix if I'm going to watch anything, but I don't watch any television. I rarely listen to the radio. And if I'm looking for stats like on COVID, I look on the health site and I just look at the breakdown of the stats. Karen, yes. We were talking about it earlier, probably a little bit before you came on to the talk, that everybody was, hey Haley, how you going, lovely? We were saying how the energies are very different this time around, and most of us were putting it down to Mercury retrograde. And of course, Mercury retrograde finished, and a lot of us still ended up in this really sticky energy. I don't even know how to explain it. But yeah, the waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I've started sleeping. I've really rehearsed and practiced going back to sleep when I wake up. And Caitlin, you'll be pleased to know I'm not sleeping on the other side of the bed now. I've had Sundays off. I'm doing all the things to make room in my life for someone new. I'm really being very, very conscious now of when I wake up at 3 o'clock, I do a meditation, go straight back to sleep now. Whereas before I would get up and I didn't want to sort of stay there trying to go back to sleep. But I've actually almost trained myself now to go back to sleep, which is pretty awesome. I'm really well, thank you, Haley. It's lovely to see you. The chime change has helped you sleep. Well, that's really good, Jeanette. That's really good. I didn't say what happened to me when I went to Bathurst. One of the girls I know, one of the readers, psychic mediums, she said to me, "I've got this really awesome place to stay. Would you like to stay there?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, rightio." So this place that we stayed in it was an old mill, an old warehouse for not mill, it was for sheep shearing. Um, and so it's been changed into units. And I was really lucky. I got this little studio unit. So it had a queen size bed in it, a bit of a lounge room, wardrobe, a bit of a kitchen, and a really nice little bathroom. And it's really cute because the beams are all still there, the walls, and all the doors are like those old style kitchen doors. And oh, it's fabulous, really. Anyway, when I got there, I was ready for bed. I put the shutters. I didn't have a remote control for the telly, so I had to walk across the room to turn it on and off. Who'd have thought? Anyway, so I shut the shutters to go to bed, and I turned the lights out. And honest to goodness, that room was pitch black. You could not see a hand in front of your face. Now, I'm not scared of anything. But being in complete pitch black like that was like being in a cave. You know, when you go in a cave and you can't see anything? I just couldn't sleep like that. I'm not used to it. I have light in my bedroom here through the blinds. So I had to get up and sleep with the light on, like a 10-year-old, 5-year-old. I don't know. It's been a long time since I felt I needed to sleep with the light on. It was so dark. But anyway, the first thing was, and I think that's what gave me the heebies, was I pulled back the bed and I had a spider in the bed, a real one, and I only had my phone in my hand. And I tried to sweep it out of the bed rather than kill it, but I just couldn't catch it. And it looked like a white tit, so I just hit it a few times because it wanted to go back under the blankets, and I didn't want to. I was like, I can't sleep in the bed if you go back down there. Um, oh, funny. I don't know if it's going to be better in 2021. How are you, Susan? Where did you come from? I don't know if it's going to be any better. I think probably by the middle of next year we may have some relief. I don't think it's going to be something we can turn over at the end of the year. 11/11 is Twin Flame Day today, if you're a twin flame. Um, I had to laugh. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I've got to get out of bed and go and turn the telly off, because at home here, I'm really naughty. I leave the timer on and I go to sleep half the time with the TV going. So, and then the timer just runs out on it. But yes, getting a little lazy when you have to get out of bed and turn the TV off. Yeah, it wasn't a big spider, Joanne. It was probably about that big. It wasn't what I call a really big spider. Um, there will be more fairs, Scott. The people that run this particular fair I went to, they run 3 or 4 other fairs, and I've got 2 or 3 people that I really like doing fairs for. So I do a lot more this year. Fly spray and shoes. Mine got the phone. The spider I found got the phone big time. But I couldn't do anything about it. It looked like a white tail, but I'm not really sure that it was. But I was just so quick because it was running back into the bed. All right, Caitlin, have a good time. See you next time. Um, oh, that's a big one for you. Yeah, it's not a big one here. Oh, believe me, no, it's not a big one here. I think the biggest spider I've ever killed was about that big. And its body was about as big as my thumb. And it was a huntsman, but it was just a really, maybe, it was huge. It was pretty big. And it was on the ceiling. And my daughter woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, there's a spider in the lounge room. And I said, how do you know that? Like, she was in bed asleep. I was like, how do you know there's a spider in the lounge room? Psychic, right? So we go out to the lounge room and there's this big spider on the ceiling, and me, oh, that's all right. I don't mind killing it. I'll get up on. I stood on the lounge with a big encyclopedia. I don't know how this was spider killing in those days, I guess. And I slammed the encyclopedia up against it, thinking I would kill it or at least maim it or slow it down. And the darn thing had already shot off before the book even hit the ceiling. So then my daughter and I were both on the lounge because we didn't know where it went. And then I had the most heart-wrenching moment because I tried to kill the spider, but I didn't realize when spiders are in danger, they go for the nearest tall thing to escape so they don't get hurt. And of course, if you're the person, they run straight at you. So I didn't know that. And then that made me feel really sad because I kept thinking, I'm trying to kill something because I can't get it out of the house, and it's trying to look for me to rescue it. Oh, no, I couldn't deal with that at all. To be honest with you, that particular one, Jeanette, because it had such a big body on it, it was almost like a small mouse. Even when I finally, because I tried to get it out, I couldn't get it out, and I ended up having to slam it to try and kill it, and the darn thing wouldn't die because it was so large. And I'm crying because I didn't want to even kill it, but I couldn't get it out of the house. And some of them will still bite. And I remember looking at it the next day and thinking, because it was just outside the front door, and thinking, that is just really sad because it's actually a creature. It's not like an insect anymore when they get that big. Oh, no, it's devastating. So now I try and get them outside. I try to get them outside because I'm just not very good at killing things at all. No, oh, yeah, Kaylee, I don't know about that one. The worst is when you whack one that has babies on its back and they run everywhere. I remember one time in Wagga, um, there was obviously an egg sack somewhere in the house broke, and we had tiny, weeny little huntsmen everywhere in the house. Ugh, no, yuck. I'm not a fan of spiders. I just don't particularly like killing them. Yes. How do you kill something that large? Well, you can drown them in fly spray if you want to, but it takes a little while for them to die from the fly spray because it's like a, what do they call it? Like a nerve gas. So it takes a little while to take effect. So normally if you slam something, it dies. But when something is as big as that spider, not so easy. Put them outside, yeah. So I can put them outside if I can, but if I have them in the house and my daughter's not here, I just leave them now, as long as they're not in my bed. I don't particularly like the idea of sleeping with them, but yeah, since I've been in this house, because I've got big trees all around here, and I've had, I think, 3 or 4 big spiders in the house. But normally I leave them, and then when I come back the next morning, they're gone. So that doesn't really worry me too much. Yes, Haley's one's pretty yucky. I don't like that one. Yeah, so I mean, if I can put them outside, I would. But if I'm not going to be disturbed by them and they're far enough away, um, only reason I think they come inside, Haley, somebody said to me once they'll come inside if it's very dry and they need water, and they'll come inside if it's very wet and they're taking refuge from the water. Um, but it does seem a bit weird, doesn't it? Uh, disinfectant spray with bleach kills anything. Who have you been spraying at your place? Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, they come in if it rains. But the other thing I've noticed here is I do get spiders. Like, remember Patrick was in here? I forgot about Patrick. Um, if it's really windy as well. So I think somehow or another they may blow onto the roof if it's really windy. Um, but yeah, I've had a couple of like sort of, that about that size, maybe a little bit bigger than that inside. Oh, you've got Bob. Well, we had Patrick here, and Patrick he was on. He came to the G's gang, and he came on the live, so we had him around a little bit, which was quite impressive. So he sat up in that corner there for a couple of days, and then he slowly made his way around the room and ended up back in that corner, and then he just disappeared. So I don't know where he went. He wanted a reading, possibly. If he's in here looking for food, he's not going to find any food, that's for sure. So I don't know, that makes me feel a bit sad too. I've got to stop with the empathy because I had a spider in my bathroom in here, just a real small one, and it was in there for days. And I kept thinking, what are you doing? There's nothing to eat in here, but I couldn't reach it. So um, spider eviction notices, what a great idea. He went next door. Well, if he needed a reading or he needed a date, I don't think he was onto a good thing here, that's for sure. Um, that's funny. Spider eviction notice is 24 hours to leave. Yeah, they usually go within 24 hours, though, so that's pretty cool. Um, are you paying for rent? Oh, that's too funny. That's too funny. So what I was thinking next time is I'm going to start doing some super chats here. So I don't know if you know about super chats, but I thought I'm going to do some super chats for readings next time I'm on here. So you can ask questions and just pay a couple of dollars for them. Um, I don't know. That was Australia. Um, Pictures of Australian. Yeah, I remember seeing this thing where there were all these cobwebs everywhere, all over the ground. But someone said to me that wasn't Australia, so I'm not really sure. Um, I'm not really sure. But we do have the most poisonous spider in the world here in Australia. We don't see them very often, but oh my goodness, I've gone the funnel webs. And funnel webs are really like you don't hear of people dying from their bites anymore, but a lot of people died when I was young because they didn't have an anti-venom or anti-vaccine for them. Yeah, funnel webs. but they're really strange because it's the only spider in the world where the male is more venomous than what the female is. Um, and very different to look at. They look very different, but both are big spiders. So when you see male redbacks, they're only a tiny thing compared to the female, and they're very unattractive. Whereas the females actually, because in America you have black widows, so our redbacks are like your black widows. They're a really beautiful looking spider. But the males are pretty ordinary. But with the funnel webs, they are both large, and the male is something like 6 times more venomous than the female, which is really rare. So, but as I said, once they got the anti venom or whatever you'd like to call it, once they got that, they stopped people dying from them. So, but yeah, we have those in the redbacks, of course, which are like the black widows. And I think we have 3 of the most poisonous snakes in the world too, if I remember rightly, and the blue-ringed octopus. So no wonder people are scared about coming to Australia, really, is it? And we have the great white shark, of course, too. So, yeah. So that's crazy. Yes. So three of the most poisonous snakes, I think. Yeah, if that's right. Um, but you know what? I have seen a lot of snakes, but only in captivity. But I know people who work up in Queensland, like my sister runs a caravan park up there, and they have snakes often, mostly non-venomous ones, but they do have the occasional venomous one. And a couple of people I know have had them inside the house in Western New South Wales. A couple of my friends live on farms where they've had snakes come in the house, so it does happen. Um, oh, do you? And kangaroos that jump in front of cars. Yes, the kangaroo I hit was really little, but it done like $5,000 worth of damage to my car. But it was only a little tiny kangaroo. I know. I was more upset about the kangaroo, though. I'm not very good at killing things at all. I don't particularly like it. The only thing I'm happy to kill is mosquitoes because I don't like them biting me, and they do bite me. They like me. Oh, thanks, Red. That's really lovely. Thank you for that. Um, yeah, so I've I've hit a few things in my time, but I'm honestly in my car all the time. So a couple of times it's been pretty heartbreaking when I've hit things like possums and cats and parrots, birds, because I've hit a couple of birds before. It's not really nice feeling. Yeah, birds are not nice because you can see like all the feathers as they're going out the back of your car. Oh, there you go. See, Haley's dad had a brown snake on his veranda yesterday. 'Tis the season. It certainly is. And my understanding is, Haley, brown snakes, whether they're small or large, are still as venomous. So for some unknown reason, there was this thing with small snakes where people were thinking because they were little, they were only babies. But apparently brown snakes, the small ones are just as poisonous. Hey, Eric, how you going? Mr. Newcastle, how you going? Um, yeah, no, it's just one of those things I guess we've got here. And people often say, oh, those creatures you've got in Australia. But to be honest with you, you don't really encounter that many creatures. But I'm sure some people do because my son does. He does like plumbing work on building sites, and he'll often talk about the spiders and snakes they find there. But most people don't get to experience with them. You've got a problem with lizards. Hey, Moira, how you going? Nice to see you here. Lizards. I like lizards. I like lizards. We've got quite nice lizards here in Australia. Um, yeah, we have quite nice lizards here. We don't have any poisonous ones of those. Yeah, skinks. No, the other things I'm thinking of the geckos. I love the geckos. And it took me, I lived in Queensland for a long time. So I did have a bandy snake. I forgot about that. I had a bandy in my front yard. And skinks. Yeah, but I got to tell you a story while we're talking about these things, right? Because silly stories. So when I was living in Queensland, I never knew what made that funny noise, that noise they make, right? And I used to always wonder what it was, and it was coming from the clock, but I found out eventually there was a gecko behind the clock, right? And they make the most cute noise. Anyway, when I was in Fiji, I was in a hut in Fiji, right on the beach, absolutely stunning place, and there was a peak roof. And I was laying in bed, and there was a little tiny gecko over here and a big gecko over here. And I was sort of laying in bed. I think I was probably watching television or reading a book or something. Not quite sure what I was doing, but I was watching the geckos because I could hear them all making a noise. And then the big gecko ate the little gecko. And I was like, is that supposed to happen? But apparently they're different breeds and they eat each other. And that really was disappointing because I wasn't quite expecting. I was like, see the big gecko just go over and eat the little gecko. But yucky. Yes, they are very noisy, but it's a beautiful little noise. Oh, there you go. A bearded dragon. They're really cute too, aren't they? Um, Yeah, exactly. It ate its yeah, and that's what I did, Haley. That was the face I pulled because I did not expect it to happen. I thought it was just going to go over there and sort of, just sort of, hi, how you going, mate? Not bad, mate. How are you? And they were just going to sort of bypass each other. It's a gecko eat gecko kind of world. It certainly is, isn't it? Um, but it just shocked me because I didn't realize they were different. They look the same, but they were different breeds, and they apparently will eat each other, which really shocked me. So, yeah, I've had some adventures, haven't I? Yeah, so I don't know that I just think geckos are absolutely gorgeous. I love them and I love the noise they make. I think they're really cute and the noise is just to die for. It's beautiful. And it was somehow very comforting because when I was in Queensland, we also had a lot of frogs. And we used to get these little tiny weeny green tree frogs in the house. And I used to always be like saving them and putting them back outside again. But they were so tiny, little tiny ones like this. But my understanding is the cane toads eat those. So I was putting them outside thinking I'm doing them a favour. And I reckon the cane toads were probably having a field day eating all the ones I put outside. So that was quite interesting. Oh, different colours. Oh dear, oh dear. Yes, it's a pretty weird sort of world, isn't it? So next Wednesday, I'm going to come on and do readings, and I will do personal readings for you for a donation. Now, if you want to ask a question or you want to have a card reading, you're going to have to learn out how to do super chat down the bottom to donate. So you click on the little dollar sign at the bottom of the screen and it will come up and ask you how much you want to donate and ask you for your credit card details. So if you're interested in doing that with me next week, I'll open the doors for readings. I won't do it every time because I really appreciate just the chats we have. Um, yeah, you've got to watch spell check. Sometimes it can be evil. Can change it to the most evil things. I've done it a couple of times and flicked off messages and then read them and gone because I've said the wrong thing. Yeah, so we're gonna have a look at how we work the super chat. But it's nearly time to go. So thank you for having so much fun with me today. I love these little chit chats. Yeah, I thought it would be nice to do, Haley. And I don't expect you to pay big money or anything like that, but just a little donation, and we'll see how we go with it. I've not done it before, but I can say there are some beautiful people who donate just for these. Even when I'm sitting talking like this, they put donations through. So, that's really absolutely beautiful. So, um, yes, a moderator. Yes, I've got someone already lined up. She actually was talking to me about it today, so I've got her lined up for us. So, see, the thing is, when we're chit chatting like this, nobody interferes. Everybody comes in, everybody wants to chit chat, everybody has a bit of fun. Occasionally, I get a thumbs down on it, and I think, well, okay, you obviously did not enjoy the chit chat. But the one or two times I've opened up to readings, um, we have had some sort of nasty stuff come on, and don't like that at all. It's really disturbing for people, and it's happened to me before on Facebook live couples too. Um, which of course again I do for free. So, when I open up, I don't really expect people to get nasty, but they do. So, yeah, moderators are definitely something we need to do. I know, it's really sad. And if people came from everywhere genuinely wanting a reading, I think that's wonderful. And I'm more than happy to read for them. But people who are just nasty, I've never got over the fact that somebody asked me if one of my children had drawn on my eyebrows. I was highly offended by that. Um, a blue tongue. Yeah, they're beautiful, aren't they, Eric? I had a really big one up in Queensland, a big blue tongue lizard. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, you do your moderating on your own channel. Yeah, I took out the people when they did it to me. I actually deleted them as they were going on with their comments. But they were really quite nasty. And you know what? At the end of the day, I had a bit of a chuckle about it because some of the things they said were quite funny. But I was offended about my eyebrows. I like my eyebrows. They're tattooed. So nobody pencils them on. They're actually tattooed. Um, Yes, golf. Yes. When I first went to Queensland, yeah, don't entertain them. And that's what I did. I just completely ignored them and just cut them out. I wanted to tell them where to go. Hey, Vanessa, how you going? Um, Eric, cane toads. When I first went to Queensland and people told me what they were doing with cane toads, I was really horrified. Like, I thought that was really horrible. And then someone else said they sprayed them with disinfectant, but they die really slowly with that. It's a really cruel thing to do. So actually killing them with the golf clubs is actually more humane because it's very quick. But I remember driving home one night from work, in the rain, and there were so many cane toads on the road without any word of a lie. It was like in the mouse plague when there were thousands and thousands of mice on the road, and cane toads everywhere. And I was squishing them, and they actually pop when you drive over them. So if anybody's not from Australia, I'm not being cruel here. Cane toads were introduced quite a long time ago in Australia because we had a problem with a beetle that was getting in the sugar cane, as I understand it. So there was this beetle that was killing the sugar cane, and of course that was one of our primary exports going back some time ago. And because this beetle was getting in, somebody had this idea to bring the cane toad. I think they came from Africa to bring them into Australia. Well, our conditions here in Australia are so good all year round for breeding. So animals like rabbits that might only breed once a year in a place like England breed continuously in our climate because it's perfect conditions. So the cane toads went crazy, and the cane toads are actually highly poisonous for some other Australian animals as well as domestic animals. So cats and dogs die from them every year because they have like poisonous, like balloons of stuff on their back. So when an animal grabs at them, they pierce these poisonous little sacs and they die from the poison. So when people say about killing cane toads in Australia, I, who am an incredibly life conscious person, feel okay with cane toads because they actually do more damage. They don't do any good whatsoever. But they do a lot of damage. They're not a very nice creature. Same as carp. European carp in the rivers, same thing. If you catch a European carp here, you don't put it back in the water because it poisons the system. So some things are okay if we have to kill them because they're not good for other natural animals. The cane toad also kills off other native animals. So we've lost a lot of native animals because of them too. So like I said, that my understanding is they poison or kill or eat tree frogs, which are absolutely gorgeous and not any harm to anything. So yes, I agree with you, Moira. It would be hard to do both, especially if you're reading for a lot of people. And that's why I've sort of engaged someone to do the moderation for me. Um, Old days without remotes. Yep, Spider Woman in disguise. Too funny. All right. Well, I better head off. It's 1 o'clock, so there's the hour. So be watching next week. We'll do some live card pulls. So just work out how to use the little S underneath, and I'll see you next Wednesday or Tuesday night for some people. Thanks for joining me. It's been good fun. Thanks.